Sí, amigos.
Kratos, the great Spartan general, was finally defeated. Driven mad, tortured and uncertain of his surroundings, the warrior found himself captured like a fly in the web of the Furies.
Never again.
My name is Jason McDonald. I'm the lead combat designer of God of War Ascension.
My name is Mark Simon. I'm the lead game designer for God of War Ascension.
What's wrong? You seem confused, Kratos. Having trouble remembering our special time together? But then again, we were rudely interrupted by my sister. Electra was never one for manners.
So there's a multitude of things that are new with this game. There's so many things. We'd fill the rest of your interview up with it. But some of the things that we were able to start with, just to give you a kind of a little bit of snippet, is Todd Pappy, the game director. He's a designer. So the first thing we did when we looked at the game is we looked at everything in the design and how we could make it better, how we could make it more responsive, how we could make it more fun, how we could make it more challenging. So that meant a lot of different things. That encompassed single player, that encompassed us starting a multiplayer for the first time, and there's a ton of details about each one of those things where we really improved it. But I think in the end what we ended up with was something that was much more intuitive, much more for the players. They had a chance to explore their combat, explore their world, and we ended up with something that they never had before in multiplayer.
I think that's exactly how every God of War begins. Like once we start development, we start thinking and say, okay, what haven't we done? Where else can we take this? And I think God of War. After God of War 3, we had done some Titan work. We had, the Titans of God of War 3, and God of War 4 or God of War Ascension. We're like, well, what else can we bring to the table? And that's what kind of birthed the idea of Hecaton, which was a Titan monster with multiple limbs and a kind of a prison built upon him. So, in his, during the fight with Hecaton, the prison is going to be breaking apart. You're going to be chasing a Fury throughout his whole, the whole prison on Hecaton, and it was definitely a method of raising the stakes a bit. I mean, it was tricky working on this God of War just because, as you said, we've had many before. So how do you adjust the combat without hurting it or keeping it too similar? So one of the first things we wanted to do was add more of a metagame to the combat, make it feel like every fight you're trying to do something in addition to just killing everybody in the arena. So the way we did that was through the rage system. So now every single fight, Kratos' rage meter will grow based on how the player's doing, and players will want to make this rage meter high because when it's high, he gets more powerful, he has access to more attacks. But if they do poorly and get hit, the rage meter will go down. So to be successful in the combat in this God of War, you're going to want to make sure that you're not just rolling around hitting enemies. You're going to want to do things that increase that meter and keep it alive.
And I think the people who model the characters in the game, the ones who animate it, the visual development, the people who draw it or paint it, the environment artists that work 3 years of their life and put their passions into it would appreciate that more than anything else. I think they would love to hear that their work has really paid off. And another person I think that would really love to hear that is Chris Sutton, our art director. So he was taking over for a very talented art director that we had on God of War 3, and he was able to take some of the new tools and new tech that he was given, the new lighting system, the new renderer, and he was able to make something that came out even more beautiful than what we had done in other games. And not to say that any of the other games were not beautiful, because they were, but this one in itself had its own style and its own direction, and it clearly comes through in God of War Ascension.
Yeah, it's funny that a lot of people say that they're surprised that we actually tried multiplayer, but when you think about it, God of War at its heart is an action fighting game. It's like Kratos is using his blades to kill other enemies. So one of the first questions we had on this project was, would it be fun to fight another player that's also fighting against you in the same way? So we did some tests with Kratos, and we found that it was looking like it's going to be pretty fun. So so the next goal was just to make sure that if we're going to do it, we got to make sure we put the God of War touch on it, meaning that we're going to have very large levels. We're going to want to have brutal kills and just that same epic, satisfying feel Kratos gets from killing an enemy, from killing another player. And I think what you find is that it's a lot more fun to kill the players, because the players are, people talking smack against each other. People, when they get killed, they want to get revenge and kill the guy who killed them. So it's a different type of fun that never existed in God of War before. Well, I mean, for God of War Ascension, there was another story to tell, and that's kind of what drove this game. So I think if we find more stories to tell, there will always be a possibility, but right now we're just focused on Ascension, so can't speak for the future. My favorite game? I'd have to say Street Fighter. Played that all my life. I still play that now. Just a fighting game at heart, and I'm a fighting game player.
Well, since you didn't specify, my favorite game is Settlers of Catan. And my favorite video game is Civilization.